Rain fell in heavy, rhythmic drops, splattering against the cracked sidewalks of downtown. Maya Collins tugged her son's tiny hand closer as the wind cut through her threadbare coat. Her umbrella had broken days ago, and her shoes were soaked through, but she kept walking, one step after another, because stopping meant giving up, and she refused to do that. "Mommy, my hands are cold," little Eli whimpered, his voice trembling. "I know, sweetheart," she said softly, her voice warm despite the chill. "We'll be inside soon. They have soup today, hot soup." The glow of St. Hope's community kitchen came into view, a flicker of light and laughter in the gray drizzle of her world. The handwritten sign on the door read, "Everyone welcome," and for Maya, it meant everything. Inside, warmth and the smell of fresh bread wrapped around her like a hug. The clatter of dishes, the hum of voices, and the soft strumming of a guitar from one of the volunteers made the place feel almost magical. Maya exhaled, her shoulders sagging in relief. She helped Eli out of his wet jacket and led him toward an empty table near the corner. It wasn't always like this. There was a time when she wore pressed blouses and pencil skirts, when she laughed with coworkers over coffee breaks. But after her husband's betrayal, walking out with their savings and leaving her pregnant, everything crumbled. She lost her apartment, her job, and eventually, her confidence. Now, every day was a battle to survive, and to protect the little boy who was her entire world. "Hi there," a cheerful volunteer greeted. "Welcome. You can sit here, we'll bring the meals around soon." Maya nodded gratefully. As she helped Eli into his seat, a familiar voice echoed behind her, deep, kind, and laced with disbelief. Maya Collins. Her breath caught. That voice, it couldn't be. Slowly, she turned. Standing across the room was Ethan Hale, her high school sweetheart, the one she had loved with all her heart before life pulled them apart. His hair was slightly longer now, his jaw sharper, but those eyes, warm brown and steady, hadn't changed. Ethan," she stammered. "Oh my God, I can't believe it's you." He looked just as stunned. "It's really you," he said, smiling slowly. "I thought, wow, it's been years." Maya could feel her cheeks flush as she brushed a strand of damp hair from her face. 10, maybe 11. "You look good." "So do you," he replied softly, though his gaze flicked briefly to her worn coat and tired eyes. "What are you doing here?" Her throat tightened. "Just getting by," she said, forcing a small smile. "It's a long story." Before the awkwardness could settle, Eli peeked out from behind her, his wide eyes curious. Ethan crouched down with a gentle grin. "Hey, little man, what's your name?" "Eli," the boy said shyly, clutching his mother's hand. "Eli, that's a strong name." Ethan smiled, then looked up at Maya. "Can I get you two some food? The soup's pretty great tonight." "Thank you," she murmured, her voice catching somewhere between gratitude and embarrassment. As Ethan walked toward the counter, Maya watched him, how he spoke easily with the other volunteers, how they seemed to respect him. He wasn't just helping, he belonged here. She sighed, looking down at her trembling hands. Once upon a time, they had dreamed together, about college, travel, building something meaningful. She had imagined growing old with him. But life had a cruel sense of humor, and somewhere along the way, she had lost everything that once made her feel whole. Ethan returned moments later, carrying 2 steaming bowls and a piece of bread for Eli. "Careful, it's hot," he warned gently. "Eat slowly." "Thank you," Maya whispered. As Eli began eating, Ethan sat beside her, just for a moment. "It's really good to see you again, Maya," he said quietly. She forced a smile, trying to ignore the lump forming in her throat. "You too, Ethan. I didn't expect to find anyone I knew here." He studied her for a long moment, eyes soft with something unspoken. "Maybe there's a reason you did." Maya looked away, unable to meet his gaze. She didn't want him to see the exhaustion, the sadness she tried so hard to hide. And she certainly didn't know that the man sitting beside her wasn't just another volunteer. He was the anonymous donor who funded Street Hope's Kitchen, the reason hundreds of struggling families like hers could eat each night. The days that followed turned into weeks, and for the first time in a long while, Maya Collins began to feel something she hadn't felt in years: stability. Every evening, after finding temporary shelter at the Women's Center, she'd take Eli by the hand and walk to St. Hope's community kitchen. It wasn't just about the free meals anymore. It was about the people. The laughter. The way the place felt alive with kindness. And most of all, it was about Ethan Hale. He was always there, sometimes behind the serving counter, other times fixing broken chairs, sweeping floors, or helping children draw while their parents ate. He never acted like he was above anyone. He fit in so naturally that Maya assumed he was just another volunteer, generous, yes, but humble. Eli adored him. Whenever Ethan appeared, Eli's face would light up. "Mr. Ethan," he'd shout, running up to show him his latest crayon drawing. Ethan always crouched down to his level, treating him with a gentleness that made Maya's chest ache. Sometimes, when she caught Ethan laughing with Eli, she imagined, for just a second, that they were a family. But then reality would remind her, she was a homeless single mother. And he was a man who had every reason to walk away from her broken world. One cold evening, Maya stayed behind to help clean. The volunteers were short-staffed, and she wanted to give back somehow. As she wiped down tables, she noticed Ethan watching her from the corner, his arms crossed, a faint smile on his face. "You don't have to do that," he said, walking over with a mop. "You're a guest here. I'm not good at being helped," she admitted softly. "Feels better to do something useful." Ethan nodded, then took the mop from her hand. "Then help me by sitting for 5 minutes. You look exhausted." She opened her mouth to argue, but the warmth in his tone disarmed her. With a sigh, she sat by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. The world outside looked blurry and cold, but inside the kitchen, there was light. After a moment, Ethan joined her with 2 mugs of cocoa. "Here," he said, "it's not coffee, but it's something." Maya smiled faintly, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "Thank you. For everything, really. I don't know what Eli and I would have done without this place." "You don't owe me thanks," he said quietly. "I do," she insisted. "You've been kind, and patient. You didn't have to be." He looked at her then, really looked, and his expression softened. "I wanted to be." Her heart skipped. The air between them thickened, charged with something unspoken. But she forced herself to look away. "I should probably tell you the truth," she murmured. "About why I'm here." "You don't have to." "No, I do." She drew a shaky breath. "I used to work as a bookkeeper. I wasn't rich, but I managed. Then Eli's father left. He took everything. Our savings, our home. I tried to keep up with rent, but," her voice cracked. "One bad month turned into 2, and before I knew it, we were sleeping in shelters." Ethan's jaw tightened, his knuckles whitening around the mug. "I'm so sorry, Maya." She gave a weak laugh. "Don't be. It's my mess to fix. I'm just tired of feeling like I failed my son." Ethan reached out, his hand brushing hers, tentatively, carefully. "You didn't fail him. You kept him safe. That's more than most could do." The sincerity in his voice nearly broke her. They sat there in silence for a while, listening to the rain. Then, after a long pause, Maya asked the question that had been burning in her mind since the night they reunited. "Ethan, why do you do all this? You're not just another volunteer, are you?" He froze, his eyes flickering. "What makes you say that?" She smiled faintly. "The others listen to you. You make decisions. People come to you when things break or supplies run out. You're different." He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You always did see through me." "Ethan," she whispered, "tell me the truth." He hesitated for a long moment before finally saying it. "I built this place, Maya." Her breath caught. "You, what?" "I started Street Hopes 3 years ago. After my parents passed, I inherited more money than I knew what to do with. I didn't want to build another business. I wanted to build something that mattered. So I opened this kitchen. It's my way of giving back." Maya blinked, stunned. "You've been funding this entire place." He nodded slowly, watching her reaction. "Yeah, but I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to think I saw you as a project. I just wanted you to feel safe." Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them. "All this time, you were the reason Eli and I had somewhere to go." He reached out again, brushing a tear from her cheek. "You were the reason I started doing this, Maya." She frowned through her tears. "Me?" Back in high school, he said softly, you used to give your lunch to that kid everyone ignored. You volunteered at every fundraiser, even when no one else cared. You taught me what compassion looked like. I wanted to be that kind of person. I wanted to be worthy of the girl I loved. The words hit her like a wave, unexpected, overwhelming, beautiful. Maya let out a trembling breath. Ethan, I don't know what to say. Say you'll let me help you, he whispered. Not because I pity you, but because I still care. She looked up at him, her vision blurred with tears. You never stopped caring, did you? He smiled sadly. Not for a single day. In that quiet kitchen, with the hum of rain against the windows and the smell of soup still lingering in the air, something inside Maya began to heal. Maybe fate had a strange way of bringing broken hearts back together. Maybe, after all the pain, this was her second chance. Not just at survival, but at love. But Ethan didn't want her to know. Not yet. He wanted her to see him first. The same boy who once loved her under the summer sky, and who had never stopped thinking about her since.